Hello, 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 beautiful souls. Yana Kasperczak coming into you live from Ontario, where it's nice and chilly out there. And as your spiritual awakening core energy coach, it is my soul's purpose to help you get your shit together so you can break free from that mental prison that you might find yourself in from time to time, or all the time, depending on where you are on your spiritual awakening journey. So that way you can live the life that you are proud of and love to wake up to every single day. So today I want to talk about, I'll share a story with you that has been shared by one of our group members in Heal the Unicorn, Emotional Healing and Spiritual Growth for Women, where one of the women has shared a really powerful and a beautiful story in there that she has come across. And I wanted to bring it to all of you as today's story and talk about it from my point of view, my perspective, and my understanding what this story means. That is based on the phrase that so many of us have heard throughout our lifetime. And that is, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So that will be the story. So first, I'll go right into reading the story without further ado, because I know some of you love stories like myself, and we can relate to stories that we can understand, and we can use those stories as examples for us living our life. So some of you might already be in the group, and if you are, great, you might have seen that story. And some of you might not be in the group, so this is my opportunity to invite you into the group and check it out and see if it's the right fit for you on your emotional healing and spiritual growth journey. Hey Rebecca, thank you. I really love this necklace. I got one for my daughter as well, like golden metal feathers. Feathers have been my thing, I guess, is the way to call it. Stones, crystals, feathers. Feathers have always been finding their way into my life in different shapes, ways, and forms, like this white feather that I have here, and I have a couple of other ones throughout as well, like this one here. And I also have, what do you call them? I forgot what this bird is called, but some of you might know. They randomly appear on my porch, in front of my house, by my house. This one, I believe, was from a blue jay as well, or some other one. I know I have a couple of blue jays. So here's the story, and I'm gonna read it word for word. My dad and I once had a disagreement over him using the adage, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger." I said, "That's just not true. Sometimes what doesn't kill you leaves you brittle and injured or traumatized." He stopped and thought about that for a while. He came back later and said, "It's like wood glue." He pointed to my bookshelf, which he helped me salvage a while ago. He said, "Do you remember how I explained that once we used the wood glue on them, the shelves would actually be stronger than they were before they broke?" I did. But before we used the wood glue, those shelves were broken. They couldn't hold up shit. If you had put books on them, they would have collapsed, and that wood glue had to set a while. If we put anything on them too early, they would have collapsed just the same as if we had never fixed them at all. You've got to give these things time to set. It sounded like a pretty good metaphor to me, but one thing I did pick up on was that whatever broke those shelves, that's not the same thing that made them stronger. That just broke them. It was being fixed that made them stronger. It was the glue. So my dad and I agreed, what doesn't kill you doesn't actually make you stronger, but healing does. And if you feel like healing hasn't made you stronger than you were before, you're probably not done healing. You've got to give these things time to set. And I was so excited to read this because it gave me a different perspective than I already had when it comes to healing, and a deeper understanding of this phrase that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So the very thing that didn't kill you is not the very thing that is going to make you stronger. Yes, you become stronger because of that thing that didn't kill you. You learn from it, you grow from it, but it's not the same thing that is going to make you stronger. You need to figure out what is it that broke you. Sometimes it involves understanding those things that have caused you to feel broken, caused you to feel shame, guilt, embarrassment, and it caused you to feel that rock bottom that you might have been experiencing. But also understand that there's another phrase that if we do the same thing over and over and over again, it's insanity unto itself. And I'm bringing that in because some of us believe that if this thing didn't kill me, and you keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it, thinking that it's going to make you stronger, more often than not, actually, based on the story, it's not going to make you stronger. It's what can actually cause you to feel more brittle, more injured, or re-traumatize you. And you are forced to relive and relive and relive, thinking that it's going to heal you. If something has hurt you, you can't expect that same thing that has hurt you to heal you. It needs to be something different. There was one thing that I worked with a lady about is she was bitten by a dog and she was petrified of dogs. Now, it wasn't the same dog that has allowed her and helped her to heal. This was just something that was brought up through coaching. That it wasn't the same dog that bit her that helped her to heal. It was a different dog, a much smaller dog, for her to get back into looking at dogs in a different way. And she didn't get a chance to go, face the same dog, deal with the same dog, but she started to grow and started to heal the part of herself that was traumatized and broken by dogs. So when it comes to our healing, as all of us are healing from the first part of our life, we have gone through something, and most of those things we are not aware of what they are. Some of them are going to be of value to bring up and understand what has broken us, that now we can understand it and choose and figure out what is going to help us heal, whereas some things we will never even find out because it has happened to us so early on in our life that we simply can't remember that experience that has created a default program that all of us are running on. Each and every one of us has a default program that we're running on. It is our automatic responses. It is our automatic thinking. It is our automatic way of doing things. And until we become more aware of these automatic ways that we show up, we struggle to do anything about it. We try to change it and try to create all these new habits, these new systems, these new structures in our life, but can't seem to show up for those things, which means we can't show up for ourselves until we go into the roots and start uncovering them and start healing those roots that we have suppressed within our psyche, within our deepest self, which is our programming. So rather than being defeated by difficulties, one can emerge stronger and more resilient as a result of enduring those difficulties. Is another way of seeing what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. So understanding that, yes, this difficulty that we went through, it is there so we can come out stronger and better on the other side. But it's not the same thing that is actually going to help us to become stronger. That experience is that experience. Now, in order for us to start healing, we need to walk away from that and look at that experience and understand it for what it is and learn from it, because we can't necessarily learn while we're in it. That's why it's important to reflect back on our journey and learn from that journey. And if we don't learn, if we haven't learned, we will continue to experience the same thing or similar things that will cause us to feel more pain and suffering. So it's worth mentioning, and I feel like it goes without saying, that nothing that this phrase, it's worth noting that this phrase is not meant to trivialize or tribalize or diminish the pain and suffering that can accompany difficult experiences. So meaning that some people use this phrase to minimize an experience. And as helpful as it might be to look at our experiences, well, it didn't kill me, so it made me stronger, it can make us feel stuck and unable to move forward and do that very next thing because we have not dealt with its roots. We have not taken time to understand what is it actually within that experience that has caused me pain and suffering. And the bigger question of that is, what is it about me that has allowed this experience to seep into my being in the way that it did and cause me the pain and suffering? Because that question helps us to look at ourselves in a deeper, more profound way to see, who was I being in this moment during this experience that has allowed me to experience this thing in the way that I did. And for some people, it is also helpful to bring in someone else that they know and think, well, based on what I know about this person, how would this person have experienced that? And how would it have affected that individual? Because in doing so, what really you're doing, because we can assume that we know people in our life, but in reality, we don't. In reality, what we are doing in the assumption is we're looking at our own different ways of how we could have experienced that experience. So it helps us to see how else we could have approached it, how else we could have experienced it. Or just asking a straightforward question, how else could I have experienced that experience? How else might I have interpreted that experience? What lesson did I learn? And what other possible lessons could I have learned from that experience? And that is where the healing really does take place and begins, in the questioning of our life and the questioning of our experiences, good or bad. We can learn from them all. We actually don't get to learn too much from our good experiences because there's a lot of good and like, well, it's great. Why would I change anything? But we learn a great deal from the bad experiences that allow us to have more of the good ones. So simply emphasizing the potential of growth and resilience can come from facing life challenges head on. Now, let me see. I know Rebecca. Your Minnie, my daughter. Yeah. She actually hasn't worn this necklace, so maybe next time we go out, her and I will wear the same necklace together, and it'll be twinsies. I had a friend come over on Friday, and she sees a picture of she sees a picture in the fridge, and she goes, "What is this? What's happening here?" And it's a picture of my husband and I, our first Valentine's Day, where we're kissing. It's like one of those photo booths, and it has a little picture. And my friend thought it was our daughter kissing some boy, and that's why she's like, "What is this? Oh, what's happening there?" Just really expressing how much she looks just like me when I was younger, which is not much younger. That was what, 20, I was 20 years old in that picture, possibly 19. Actually, yeah, 19. And my daughter's 14 and looks just like me, actually 3 inches taller now. And then Rebecca says, I have a turkey feather that I use for smudging. Ooh, I love those. I started off with turkey feathers, wild turkey feathers. I would just find them walking in the forest, and then I moved on to a crow wing that I came across online and have gotten for myself. We have our own lessons to learn from each experience, 100%, Rebecca. And then, doesn't want to scroll up. We have the opportunity to make changes to make the situation better. Yeah, there's always going to be opportunity to make choices to either make our situation better or to stay as we were. And here's a kicker. Some of you might already know this. Others might resist agreeing with it, while the rest of you might start to let this information in. Is that we human beings actually get addicted to feeling bad. We really do. It's a twisted way of self-punishment, and it comes from unhealed roots of not feeling worthy or good enough, of feeling good. So this is where we will find ourselves going back to our old ways, doing the things that we know we shouldn't be doing because we don't feel good, and also procrastinating, self-sabotaging, and avoidance. These ones are massive ones that help us to identify that we are still not in the place where we have healed enough because the glue hasn't settled yet, and we're trying to put things on top, put things on top, put things on top. Hey Kelly, how are you doing, beautiful? Good morning to you as well. So which brings me to another point. When you are on a healing journey and you have done the work in a certain part of your roots and you have healed those roots, it is so crucially important to allow that to settle, which to many of you might mean to keep distance from negativity. Keep distance from things that can re-traumatize you. In other words, using this example, to not put those books on the bookshelf because the glue has not settled, the glue has not dried. That you need to give yourself time. Sometimes it might mean isolation, where you're spending time with yourself and not putting yourself out there. Especially if you're able to do that, that's great. And for others, it might also mean, even if you're in isolation as well, or if you're going to a job, it is crucially important to continue to do that thing that has helped you to feel better. And if it stops helping you feel, to feel better, that means try something different. Try something different. Change this thing up. Change that thing up until you really, really, really feel solid. The foundation where you are doing the work and doing healing feels solid for you to step on, for you to go and put those bookshelves on, for you to talk about it even. Because if you have experienced something traumatic and you feel the need to share it, but you're not ready, and you keep sharing it, you can find yourself feeling traumatized. As Rebecca says, victim trap. Yeah, you can find yourself in that victim trap where you are re-traumatizing yourself, and you're trapping yourself in that victim state. You keep going back, instead of doing the work that you have identified is the right work for you when it comes to your healing and the trauma that is there. And you will know when you are ready. You will know when you're ready. No one can decide that for you. And it will be one of those things that I want you to think back, because all of us have had this experience, that there was a time in your life, whether it was in school, whether it was outside of school, whether you were, let's say, picking a puppy, or picking a house, or picking a life partner, or picking a friend, or even picking up a book, or whatever it was, that you had trouble choosing what it was, and you doubted your ability to, pick that right puppy, that you doubted your ability to just, when you see it, you know it, or that house, or that partner, or whatever it was, that when a time came for you to pick, you saw it and you knew it. And there was no ifs or buts. There were no questions about it. The same will apply to you. When you have healed, you will know. You will know that you have healed. It's another form of your intuition. You trust in your intuition. Let me see. Rebecca says, I think we should try to learn more from the good experiences as well. Oh yeah, 100% we can learn a lot from the good experience, but nowhere nearly as much from the bad experiences. Because when a lot of things get brought up when we feel bad, but what all of us have been conditioned to do, and that is the default program, is avoidance, is to ignore it. It's not as if it's not there. Get busy, do this thing, do that thing, go to work, distract yourself, do something else. And as helpful as it might be, it actually does not allow you to understand what is happening in your core. Why are you actually feeling bad? What is, or what are the triggers that are causing you to feel in the way that you feel? Whereas when we are feeling good, we can learn a lot about why are we feeling good, what are we doing that has allowed us to feel good, so we can do more of that. But through learning through the bad experiences, after learning and applying what we learned, this is where we start to be able to identify more when we're feeling good. Because more often than not, people don't even question when they feel good. And they definitely don't question when they're feeling bad, because they don't want to feel bad again. But what ends up happening is that if you do choose to address the bad, to dive deep and figure out and go to the root and the core and figure out what is causing you to feel bad, then what's going to happen is that you will, it's like when you break your arm. You go to the doctor, they give you a prescription to go get the x-ray, and you get the x-ray, and the doctor knows, the x-ray expert knows what has happened, and then they can fix it right away, and it starts healing. The same concept applies when something has happened, you're triggered, you're feeling bad, that you go within, you do that x-ray, you figure out what's happening, then you have the steps and things that you can do and put in place in order for you to overcome this bad feeling that you have, or bad feelings that you have within you. But if you don't do it, if you don't address it, don't take the time to understand it right here and now, then what's going to happen, it's just like that break in your arm that you avoid going to a doctor. So you're not going to end up in the x-ray office. You're not going to have someone to help you see what is actually happening inside of you, inside your body, in your root, in your core. That what's going to happen is that break is not going to heal right, and it's not even perhaps not even going to heal at all. And you will continue to live in pain and agony. And then when you're finally ready to go and fix that arm, what are they going to tell you need to do? They will tell you, we need to re-break that bone so we can set it right and allow it to heal. But this time, the healing will take longer to heal because you have neglected coming in when it happened. So now there's going to be more damage, and hopefully there's not going to be any broken fragments that we will have to then go in and cut out. So the point what I'm trying to make is that there's going to be a lot more pain and suffering if you continue to avoid dealing with that pain, with that trauma, with that trigger that has come up for you. If you continue to avoid dealing with that, it'll be much more painful later than it would have been initially. And I did that for years. All of us have this default program to avoid dealing with it, to distract yourself, to get busy, to do all the other things that society expects you to do, which none of them are. Go deep within, uncover the damaged roots, take the time to understand them, do what you know, and hopefully you have outside help to help you then understand more on a deeper level, because that way you're not limited to just your mind, to go and put something in place for you to overcome yourself in a way or in many ways. And Rebecca says, I wish my daughters looked like me, but I'm glad they are much more beautiful than me. Oh, don't put yourself down, Rebecca. You are a beautiful woman, and your kids got a lot of that from you, by the way. They might not look exactly like you, but they do look a lot like you. I've seen some pictures and they look exactly, not exactly like you, but so much like you that I can tell that they're your kids. And then this one I already read. What else was there? Rebecca says, that's how I feel about spending time with my mom and siblings, afraid of feeling the negativity. My mom came over last night, and I saved and Palo Santos her. LOL, she left me. I'm not sure what Palo Santoed her means. I feel like, I don't know, is that humor? But so what you're saying here, because you were talking about, you responded to the part where I was saying, if you did not allow the glue to settle and to dry, and the books are going on that shelf, that you can get re-traumatized and you can go back to your old ways and continue hurting, and to protect yourself while you're healing from negativity. So when it comes to family, many of us feel like we have no say. Many of us feel like we have to, but we don't. We actually do have a choice to choose the family that we call family. And it doesn't have to be the family that we're born into. It can be anyone that you can call family. And allowing yourself the space, the physical space, and the time to take care of you before you allow that negative energy in. Because if you don't have the right safety measures in place for yourself, then you can find yourself back in that cave, back in that deep dark hole where you feel like a broken child again. And you will have to start from the beginning. And that's not necessarily always bad, because through those experiences you get to learn more and more and more. But that's not the experiences that are going to help you heal and become stronger. You need to do other things that will help you to do that. And Rebecca says, when we heal, we feel rebirth. Oh, 100%, in many different ways. Great analogy with the broken bone. Thank you. I'm glad that was helpful. And that is the reason why I went into the field of mental health. sage and Palo Santo. Oh yes, okay, I know what you mean now. Now that you mentioned sage in front of it, I'm like, those two almost like go together. The Palo Santo sticks, the burning, and the saging, the cleansing the house. So yes, thank you for saying that, because that's the other thing that will help us to cleanse ourselves in our physical space, which is actually a great reminder, because I wanted to sage the house this week. So I'm gonna do that today. And the way that I sage is a full entire saging of the house from the front door all the way through. So it's gonna take a bit to get it done, but once it's done, you just feel so cleansed, the house and yourself and everyone that lives in the house. So thank you for sharing. That's and then Rebecca says safe to clear the negative energy, and sage to clear the negative energy, and Palo Santo, and gave her a blessing. She let me, but I did it because I didn't want her negative energy in my house. So you saged and used the Palo Santo stick on her. So I am really glad to hear that she was open to that, and that it has helped her as well. Because not everybody's open to that. Some people judge that approach in negative ways, but it says a lot more about them and who they are and their belief systems than you. So if someone is not ready, they're not ready. That's not our place to convince them or talk them into it or force them into something that they're not comfortable doing. So I'm glad that she was comfortable and that she was open, and that it helped you to feel boosted, and her as well. Rebecca says I'm growing on her. Yeah, you're definitely growing on her, and that's a good thing. That means that she has been watching you, paying attention, and seeing your own growth and evolution, and is more open to learn, more open to start applying, figuring out the changes for her in her own life as well. So I'm actually now even more excited for your future together. Anyway, so other than that, that is all that I have for you guys for today. Hopefully this topic of what doesn't kill you makes you stronger has helped you, and I would love to hear how did this story today has helped you with where you are right now in your life and in journey. In other words, your biggest takeaway. What is your biggest takeaway? And as always, I really encourage everyone to figure out what is the one thing that you're going to do with that takeaway. One action, one small tiny little step, one tiny little goal that you can do today with your takeaway, with your aha moment, and not put it off tomorrow. Because just having a realization, just having aha moment is great, but if we don't do anything about it, if we don't plant that seed, then things will stay the same. Otherwise it just becomes the knowledge that we end up forgetting over time. And I don't want you to forget. I want you to take that seed, and I want you to plant it on the ground, and then continue to water it if that is what you feel called on doing. And Rebecca says focus on the lesson. So how are you going to focus on the lesson, and what is the lesson as well? Sometimes it's multi-layered. I'll let you respond to that as I got other things that I got to do. Busy, which is sometimes good, but at the same time taking the time for myself. So right now I'm going to take time for myself before I go on to the next call that I have later on in the day, to make sure that I am good, that I'm taking care of for myself. And other than that, thank you everybody. And until we see each other next time, maybe tomorrow on the podcast, Heal the Unicorn, Bethany and I, which will be live in our Facebook group called Heal the Unicorn, Emotional Healing and Spiritual Growth for Women. So if you're not in there and you're interested in these types of videos that I do in the group, and then Bethany and I do as a podcast as well, where she brings her wisdom, her knowledge, and her value to the group, and then I encourage you to join us and check it out, and which will be live tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And until next time, bye everybody. Thanks for being on here.